Hey guys, in this tutorial I am going to show you how to make this stop motion transition in just a few simple steps inside Premiere Pro. So let's get started. Alright, you can see on the timeline I have got two different video clips. You can use any videos that you like. Let's move the time indicator to the middle position between the two video clips. And then we have to move the time indicator 40 frames forward. You can do this by holding the Shift key from the keyboard, and then hit the left arrow key 8 times to skip 40 frames. Now we can switch over to the razor tool by hitting the C key and cut the adjustment layer to this position. This will be the beginning point of the transition. After that, I am going to move the second video clip to the second track on the timeline, and then overlap this with the first one on the point where we want to transition. After that, we cut the second video at the end of the first video clip, and you can move the other part down again. In the next step, we have to right-click on the bottom video clip and then click on Nest. I am going to call this Media Placeholder 1. This is a media placeholder, so we can change the footage anytime in the future. Next, we have to do the same thing with the top video clip. Here, I am going to call this Media Placeholder 2. So you can see on the project panel, we have two media placeholders. Now you can create a new bin folder and organize the media placeholders in this bin folder, so we can easily customize them in the future. Next, we have to make these two media placeholders freeze frame. That's why let's select these two media placeholders and move over to the effects panel to apply an effect. This is a posterized time effect. Let's drag and drop the posterized time effect onto the media placeholders. In the next step, let's select the top media placeholder and move over to the effect controls panel. Now, from the posterized time effect, we have to make the frame rate parameter value around 0. Next, select the bottom media placeholder. From the posterized time effect, let's make the frame rate parameter value around 0. Alright, if you set the frame rate to 0 in the posterized time effect, it will effectively freeze the video at a single frame. This means that the video will appear static, with no movement or animation. Now, we have to customize the media placeholder 1. That's why let's lock the second video layer to invisible. Now, select media placeholder 1, and from the motion control panel, we have to make the X position parameter value around 1352. And then we have to make the scale parameter value around 58. Now you can see the media placeholder 1 is moved significantly to the right. Next, we have to customize the media placeholder 2. That's why let's move the time indicator to the beginning of the transition. Now we have to move the time indicator 3 frames forward. And then let's unlock the second video layer. After that, let's place the media placeholder 2 in this position. Now from the motion controls panel, we have to make the X position parameter value around 708. After that, let's make the Y position parameter value around 432, and then we have to make the scale parameter value around 64. Now you can see the media placeholder 2 is positioned toward the top left area of the screen. In the next step, we have to move the time indicator 12 frames forward. Now we need to duplicate media placeholder 1, move it to the top video layer on the timeline, and place it in this position. After that, make sure the top media placeholder 1 is selected. From the motion controls panel, we have to make the X position parameter value around 852. And then let's make the Y position parameter value around 586. And then we have to make the scale parameter value around 60. Now you can see the media placeholder 1 appears smaller and shifted towards the bottom left corner of the screen. Again, we have to move the time indicator 7 frames forward. Now we need to duplicate media placeholder 2, move it to the top video layer on the timeline, and place it in this position. Next, select the media placeholder 2 and go over to the effect controls panel. From the motion controls panel, we have to make the X position parameter value around 1018. And then let's make the Y position parameter value around 632. And then we have to make the scale parameter value around 65. After that, we need to make the rotation parameter value around 3 degrees. Now you can see the media placeholder 2 appears smaller and shifted towards the bottom right corner of the screen. In the last step, let's move the time indicator 5 frames forward. Again, we need to duplicate media placeholder 2, move it to the top video layer on the timeline, and place it in this position. After that, make sure the top media placeholder 1 is selected. From the motion controls panel, we have to make the X position parameter value around 1160. And then let's make the Y position parameter value around 734. And then we have to make the scale parameter value around 55. Alright, now you can see the changes on the program monitor. In the next step, I am going to use a paper texture background, light leak overlay, and a stop motion transition sound effect for the transition. I have already got these assets on my computer. I will give you these transition assets for free. Please check the download link on the video description or the comments section. Let's drag and drop the assets inside the project panel. Now we have to open these two media placeholder sequences. Next, let's drag and drop the paper texture in the media placeholder 2, and let's decrease the duration of the paper texture. Now we have to move the paper texture under the video layer, and then let's select the video clip and move over to the Effect Controls panel. Now from the Motion Control panel, we have to make the scale parameter value around 97.5. Alright, now you can see on the program monitor, the overall effect has been a slightly smaller video with a paper texture border surrounding it. In the next step, from the project panel, let's drag and drop the paper texture in the media placeholder 1, and let's resize the duration of the paper texture. Now we have to move the video clip on top of the paper texture, and then let's select the video clip and move over to the Effect Controls panel. Now from the Motion Control panel, we have to make the scale parameter value around 97.5. Now it's time to add a light leak overlay. Let's drag and drop the light leak overlay in the media placeholder 1. Now, we must select the light leak overlay and move over to the Effect Controls panel. Let's find the opacity section and then click on the blend mode drop-down menu and select the screen mode from the list. And then let's make the opacity parameter value around 40%. From the Motion Control panel, we need to disable the uniform scale by clicking on this box. Now, let's make the scale width parameter value around 42. And then, we have to make the X position parameter value around 422. After that, let's make the scale height parameter value around 98. Next, we need to drag and move the light leak overlay to the media placeholder 2 and place it on the top layer. Here, we have to make the opacity value around 13% for the light leak overlay. After that, let's go back to the main transition sequence. Here you can see the changes. The paper texture is successfully applied under the video clip, and the light leak overlay has been successfully applied. Now, we have to select the second media placeholder and the fourth media placeholder from the list, and then go over to the effects panel to apply a black and white effect. Let's drag and drop the black and white effect onto these two media placeholders. And lastly, we can use the stop motion sound effect from the project panel. Alright, with these couple of steps, we have created this stop motion transition. Let's see how it looks now. It looks great. In this way, you can create a stop motion transition in just a few simple steps inside Premiere Pro.